Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Today we're going to touch on the topic of beaks and nails, from how to trim and how to handle, to preventative maintenance, and things that help keep a tortoise's beak properly in check. Here, my boy Scooter, as you can see, he is a rehome. I got him at about 5 years old. He is a hopefully mature male, and that way we'll have some hatchlings one day from him with our pal Dasher. These two coexist rather nicely so far. They've been together for a while now. After him being kept in a quarantine, he always wants more space. This guy, he's in a 6x3 unit now. He's always ready for more space. Oh, careful there, pal. I'll show you. When I had gotten him, his beak reached almost down past his bottom jaw. It was almost in line. That's not exactly ideal. As you can see, he looks like a real distinguished gentleman with his little mustachio beak there. You can see how it even hooks outwards in order to clear that. And then we'll show Dash. And look at Dash's beak. Just a derpy, beautiful Sheila. That derpiness, I love it. That's how, in my opinion, you want to see a Herman's tortoise, with a very pronounced mouth. See, Dash, her entire life, has been fed off of slate. When she was a hatchling, I fed her off the slate that was, how do I say, that's from a broken pool table. It works great. You can get slate at Home Sense in placemats or coasters, or really you can find slate anywhere. Or you can get bigger slate, heavier slate from any masonry or brick outlet store, like in your light industrial area. You should be able to find some slate if you're looking around enough. I like slate. I also like to top it with terracotta. So when they eat off of these rough surfaces, I like the terracotta because it retains a bit of that mess, which is just impossible at this time of year when you're feeding dried feeds and they're playing a little fussy, and spring can't come soon enough. But by feeding off these rough surfaces, it wears down their beak naturally as they drag that food across. Their beak is made up of a keratin, and that keratin is similar to what's found in our nails, our hair, maybe even our teeth, things like that. It's one of them. Keratin is it's a strong, hardy product, but not as strong as slate. Cuttlefish bone. It is great for keeping that beak worn down. They eat it as they like it. Pardon me. Slate. Cuttlefish bone is found on the seaside shores in the UK, I'm sure in other parts of the world. In Canada here, I just purchased it on Amazon at whatever bang for buck I can get. The grosser it gets, the more they seem to like it, these guys. I even leave it outside with them in their summer enclosure, or I store it outside in period. Oh, a little stone there, we'll throw out that stone. I don't like stones smaller than their skull, but the soil I get is from a garden, and even though I run it through a sieve or a sieve or a sifter, whatever you want to call it, it makes its way in here. So back to touching on the topic of beaks. In my opinion, the best way to trim a beak is preventative maintenance. Have it work its way down before it needs to be trimmed. And this is where people say, oh, well, I feed off of slate, but my tortoise's beak still gets overgrown. From there, in my opinion, you should be questioning your diet. You're feeding too rich of foods. You're feeding fruits. You're feeding high protein pellets for sure then. Always stay away from the pellets and the commercial feeds with these guys. It shows in their shells. Even when you're feeding pellets and commercial feeds, everything shows in the shell. It is too rich of nutrients. It's too high in proteins. It's too high in sugars usually. All those things, and that's why you're getting a rough shell. That's why you're getting an overgrown beak. That's why you're going to get overgrown nails too at times. And just like nails, or just like beaks, nails are best by, pardon me, I'm so hoarse. Nails are best broken down on rocks and rough surfaces and deep soil. Like this soil here is, oh, I can't even reach bottom. I couldn't even reach bottom. Deep soil is a great way of wearing down those nails. As you can see here, both these tortoises have never had their nails cut. Dash is being slightly longer than my boy Scoots. Scooter's nails, no, I shouldn't say never. He's never had nails cut in my ownership. But from where he came from, who really knows? I never got to see his setup. The lady delivered him to me on the street of downtown Calgary from a high-rise apartment. He fits right in. Absolutely love these two together. On the topic of beaks though, and how to trim them. So the thing is of course preventative maintenance. Use that slate to work it down. When I got him, that beak went down to his bottom jaw, and it just hung out there. So what I did is, after looking at YouTube for a few videos, I saw people using a really popular YouTuber as far as tortoises and reptiles using a Dremel tool. The friction and heat of that and the vibration of that along a tortoise's little skull and their little brain, it didn't make sense to me. There's no possible way that that's an enjoyable practice. Oh, he's a fighter. He wants out of this, but that's okay for video purpose only. I typically only handle for inspection videos and soaking. I try and do a hands-off approach with my tortoises. That beak though, so instead of buying a 80, 90, 100 Canadian dollar Dremel tool, I choose, number one, of course, slate and terracotta, back to cuttlefish bone. A proper diet, a naturally fed diet should help keep this beak down. But since getting him, first, I went into the bathroom, collected a regular nail clipper. I saw a video of this. A gentleman grabbed his tortoise, went up and under that beak, and a quick clip all the way across the beak, and it's painless because, once again, keratin. It doesn't. There's no harm done to that tortoise due to a quick cut, just like your nail or cutting of your hair, I suppose. But looking at Scooter here, it's now past the point of clipping with a nail clipper. I did that a few times over a few weeks, and it definitely was a solution. Even I think that was probably 3 clips over like a 2-month span, we'll say. But then to dial it down, because the clip was kind of jagged and it didn't really align all that well, it still doesn't align. I spotted this puppy at the dollar store, and I thought to myself, well, maybe I could make this work. I don't want to buy a special tool by any means. I ended up taking side cutters and cutting it down because it was kind of pokey, and I didn't want it poking on the end in case a person slipped or whatever. So what I found worked really well, and I'm just going to set my phone down here on the table, and then you take your less dominant hand. I'm using my chest to hold the phone. You take your less dominant hand, and that doesn't work really with the phone. Need a video editor eventually here. So then, sorry guys, I'm just gonna do this one-handed for now, because he will let me. And we just hold just ever so gently. You don't need to do this very roughly. And you hold their head out there with your less dominant hand. Even that's a workable spot. And if they pull hard enough, I let them retract. Oops, sorry my pal. Dash is really getting inquisitive too. But let's do a reset here. But if Dash is always right in there. You use your left hand and you just run this along that, and that just shapes it. You don't have to get too hard and into it. Now, we've covered everything on this topic except for how to trim your tortoise's beak. If you follow forward, I will show you how I approach with just this nail file and how I work on there. I just like to get a phone mount so that I can really get into that. But thanks for staying tuned, following this video. If you like it, please hit like, please subscribe, and follow me as my Tortoise adventures into spring.